Sunday morning, Tracy and I went to a wild church, and it was completely unruly. And the pastor took the microphone and he started singing. Don't make me do that. Okay? Just don't make me sing. Can I ask that we settle down? I lived in fear that we've registered more people than what we had seats, but obviously Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock is too early for the people who pay to be here. So I'm just giving everybody a moment to settle down, and then we'll kick off and try and catch up. So, welcome to the 11th edition of the Joburg Indaba. My name is Bernard Swanepoel, and I will once again have the absolute privilege to be chairing the 2 days of what I hope to be very useful and blunt conversations. Thank you for joining us. This is an extremely modern, well-designed venue, so if there are any alarms, you can actually see escape ways everywhere, and you just make your way away from the building until we obviously can indicate where potential threat may have come from. So that should be simple and easy. We do have a doctor in the house. I'm not sure, Dr. Waldeck, are you in the house? There is, please, Michael Robert, won't you stand up? He doesn't look like a doctor, he looks like a high school kid. But he's extremely well qualified to treat all the diseases of old people like me. So we're in good hands. If you need any attention, medical attention, please just indicate, get anybody to assist you, and you will be well looked after. So those are the formalities and proceedings. Let me repeat my welcome to the 2023 Joburg Indaba. As I've said, our 11th anniversary edition. On behalf of everyone involved in this event, thank you for joining us for what will undoubtedly be another memorable Joburg Indaba. I could not get Minister Mantas to not show, so I can't repeat last year's performance on that. Unfortunately, Portia Derby is not coming to throw a tantrum, so I couldn't get that. But who knows? Who knows what this Indaba's got installed? Something will happen, especially if I have anything to do with it. So last night at our gala dinner, we celebrated the South African Mining Hall of Fame award ceremony when we recognized Mike Teke as the newest recipient. I don't think Mike is here yet, but I think we can even give him a round of applause in his absence in the meantime. So turning our attention to this year's Indaba, I'm once again incredibly impressed with the caliber of our industry leaders that we will be hearing from. I mean, this is an absolute A-list of 50 speakers that I don't think any other industry ever gets together in one venue, with the emphasis on one venue. There's but one conversation, and if you're in the room or online, you are part of the only conversation that takes place. That's always been our design. So we aim to provide a platform for candid and frank conversations. So Frank, I mean, we now have got a new Frank. The old Frank is retired. We don't know where he is yet. We'll have the frank conversations, even with the Minerals Council in the room. We are, as always, so pleased to welcome our sponsors, and especially our mining industry partners, because to put something like this together takes a team of people, lots of time. It's really a around-the-clock, around-the-year effort, and none of that would be possible without the right support from our sponsors and industry partners. So we're beginning to get people to make my life miserable and difficult. PwC kindly brings out a very worthy document, but they bring it out the Tuesday before my Wednesday morning speech. So how the hell am I supposed to copy anything useful in your report for my speech if I get it at like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night? I did my best, but I do think you will in time have to, firstly, you guys can publish a day earlier, and the rest of it, you will now have to read the report yourself. So mine, 2023 is an absolute worthwhile report. This report released on Tuesday says data issued by the South African Revenue Services for the first 6 months of 2023 shows exports of mined materials amounted to 575 billion rands. Let that just sink in for a moment. That is the quantum of exports that this industry does. Of course, we will hear speakers say, and it could have been more if only we had the trains and the access to the port. But that contributes 58% of total exports from South Africa. The other very important aspect, as far as I'm concerned, is that this industry provides about 478,000 people with formal employment, according to the data from Stats SA. And of course, it provides the fiscus with critical income in the form of corporate taxes, mineral royalties, and individual tax from employees. Then the report goes on to say, and the Free State will shut down in 7 years, and so on. And that makes fantastic headlines. But I think if you really read the report, you can see the report actually just takes the state of our reserves and talk to the resources, and of course the difference between resources and reserves sometimes is some additional capital is required, some further investment. So a very good report, and I would strongly urge you all to perhaps look at it. I also, because people know I'm unemployed, I got invited, like other unemployed people I suspect, to participate in some conversations that the Minerals Council, I think, initiated, and Mining Dialogues 360 and Good Governance Africa had a round of conversations which culminated in another damn good report. Another damn good report which I received a final copy from last night. So people don't do this. I mean, please. I feel flattered that you send me these reports, but send it on the weekend so that my wife can read it and summarize it for me, okay? I had ChatGPT long before it became a computer. I mean, I married my ChatGPT, and my gosh, does she chat. Oh, jeez. So, that executive summary, and I'm pretty sure Themba is going to speak extensively about it. So, Themba, I do apologize if we overlap. But I want to quote you a few conclusions. So, the 4 main headline issues I'm reading from the report. First, the industry, by any quantitative measure, is stagnating and is essentially in crisis, placing its contribution to South Africa at risk. Second, South Africa's above-average mineral endowment is insufficient to trump the excessively high hurdle rates facing investors in mining projects. So I'm not sure whether this was 50, 100, 200 people participating. This is the summary of such conversations. The third point, there was an overarching sense that the contents of the MPRDA were largely workable when it was first introduced. However, fourthly, it is one thing to have a largely acceptable act, but its implementation has been hampered by largely incapable Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and which also faces serious capacity constraints. So these are when the people of the industry came together and discussed the issues facing us. This is where the conversation landed. This definition of crisis, I don't like the word crisis, because deep in my DNA, when you see a crisis, I see an opportunity. I can't help that. But the description of this crisis, in the first place, The impression created is that the South African government doesn't even want a thriving mining sector. I'll put that to Gwede tomorrow. We'll test that and say, is this perception that is alive in the industry relevant or not? It goes on to quote somebody that says, it isn't clear if the different factions within the ruling party concur on their objectives for the mining industry. I think we can all imagine what fun it would be to have Barbara Creasy, Gwede Mantashe, and Pravin Gordhan in one room. I think it's called a cabinet meeting. Perhaps that's why not much come out of it. Nah. There's one taking place right now. So it's an interesting perception that perhaps the dysfunctionality starts really right at the top, at the political misalignment within what is supposedly a ruling party. A second further observation is relations between industry stakeholders remain fraught, and there is arguably still no consensus around a vision for mining in national development. And this is a little bit irritating because you may not remember, but this conference over the years have dwelt extensively on a shared vision. How do we become relevant? How do we modernize in a way that we leave nobody behind? And some of all of those conversations, I think, is still worthy of incorporating into a shared vision. It, in a third observation, says we have a state that wants to be interventionist but isn't capable. Sometimes I wish I said some of these sarcastic things. I mean, geez. Isn't this my space? I'm not the guy who's here to say the sarcastic things. I wish I said that. And then I promise perhaps my last quote from that report. Government doesn't understand how the mining industry works and what drives investment decisions, particularly the expense and long lead time from identifying a resource to proving a resource and commissioning a mine. So the consensus view is of an industry that has at best stagnated and which may decline appreciably unless stability and incentives for exploration and investment can be restored. So last night I said when we conceived the program 3 months ago, I was in a very different state of mind personally. I thought things are actually hanging together. I mean, the platinum price was falling, but there had to be a bottom. Well, where is that bottom? We're all looking for it. I'm talking about the PGM price. I thought Transnet is clearly so screwed up it can't get any worse. Well, I mean, I again was wrong. And so 3 months on, things haven't improved. The good thing if you are an old cyclical miner, I mean, what goes down doesn't go down to zero. There is a bottom, and who knows where the bottom is. And so I don't want total depression in the conversations. And if you send me only depressing questions, I may filter them out. Because we sit here with leaders who have seen this before. We are on a platform with people who've been through this a few times in their lives. And I think we're going to hear action plans of how to start to fix, especially this morning. We're going to have the CEOs of this country who has volunteered additional national service, as if they don't have enough in their day jobs, to try and to start to fix. So, doom and gloom, we've said it, we've done it, yes, but let's also lift our heads and have a conversation about how to fix. And I need to facilitate some audience participation, so please pick up your tool of mass democracy. We're going to pick the president of the country with that tool now, so just get ready. No, sorry, I don't have a mandate. Let's stick with our mandate. We'll just do what we're allowed to do. So can you point your camera at it? It will give you a little link. If you click on the link, even I can do that after having been coached for about 6 years. It will take you to a Q&A. That Q&A is where you're going to type your questions in. Okay, the only way your question is going to come to the speaker is you're going to type it in, it comes through to me, and I put it to them. Simple, eh? Keep it short. Your CV you can post online through LinkedIn. We're not here to hear how clever and smart you are. We're here to get your questions, okay? And then we go to polls. So can we perhaps do a practice poll? Can we put the first poll up? Are you guys getting ready? Otherwise, look for a young person near you to help you, okay? You know how it works. Call your son. My son's writing matric, so I can't call him. So my first question, and this is a practice question, so don't get too serious. Which South African is showing true world-class competency? The Transnet execs, our Minister of Load Shedding announcements and updates, the guy with the watch, in other words, Mani Libok when place kicking, Sipho Nkosi, our own red tape tsar, or perhaps more seriously, Paula organizing fantastic conferences. So let's pick a South African that we can celebrate, that's getting it right. Paula told me to vote for her, so I'm voting for Paula. So guys, it's simple now. So through the program, we'll give you multiple choice questions. You exercise. Some of you participate. This is also where our online participants have got the same access. And yeah, I mean, we clearly have one Transnet representative in the room. We will not ask that person to identify himself or herself at this stage. And we are clearly have quite a rational bunch. We see competence when we see it in Paula. Okay, tongue-in-cheek, easy, easy. Can we do two quick polls which will feed into the conversation? The next poll I want to ask you to participate in is, what should be our top priority as an industry? And you'll see how this feeds into the conversations that we are having with the CEOs. Should we be fixing crime? Should we be getting exploration going? Should we fix those state-owned enterprises, infrastructure issues? Should we capacitate the DMRE as per the previous points I made? Or should we really pause and develop a shared vision for the industry? Now, of course, you wanted to vote for 2 or 3 of them, but the purpose is to make you choose the one that you feel the strongest about. We've got a room full of engineers, eh? So, Advocate Orlane, this will be your introduction when you speak with the fixers. We'll talk about how are we going to do this now. Eh? My final question, and this will pop up through the 2 days regularly. Neil will say something outrageous. I will say, wait, whoa, just pause. Neil, I want to do a BS barometer test on the audience. Now, BS stands for Bernard Swanepoel, not for bullshit, okay? So we're going to do a bullshit barometer test when somebody says something that I just want to see if, as an audience, we think it's a legitimate claim. So it's a typical yes or no question. But the question of... That's not the poll I want. The poll I want now is actually a yes or no question. So the poll, I think if the AV desk can stop the union meeting and pay attention, the poll I want now is the specific question. Nobody says the MPRDA is perfect, but has it achieved a meaningful part of its original objectives? Yes or no? So, very simple to use. This is when we ask for a poll, you point, you get the link, you go to polls, you've all done this now. And the same platform is how you get your questions to us. So, all done. Thank you for indulging me to talk over your wake-up time. The good news is you are here to listen to our industry's leaders, and it's an absolute privilege for us to kick off with Neil Frenneman. Of course, he's a past inductee into the Hall of Fame, deservedly be so. And he's also going to do the opening keynote speech. Meneer Frenneman, sir, the platform is yours. Thank you very much for joining us.